Week 4, Day 1. Alacrity. Briskness, lively action.
The waiter moved with alacrity because he perceived they were big tippers.
Disdain. Contempt.
When the curtain came down, the critic's face registered the disdain she felt for the lackluster play.
Belligerent. Warlike, seeking war, hostile.
His belligerent manner caused him to lose one friend after another.
Intimidate. To overawe, to make afraid.
Y2K concerns of the problems with computers failed to intimidate our company.
Feint. A false attack, pretense, sham.
The Germans were duped by the Allies' feint toward the south, leaving the way open for the Normandy invasion.
To throw down the gauntlet. To challenge someone.
The principal of our rival school threw down the gauntlet, and we had no choice but to accept the challenge.
Mullins a KO victim. When the bell sounded, K.O. Mullins responded with alacrity. He sprang from his stool and charged across the ring, showing disdain for the champion's strength. Although this belligerent attitude impressed the referee, it failed to intimidate the champ. That intrepid battler laid the hapless Mullins low with an adroit feint and an uppercut.
Week 4, Day 2. Pugnacious. Quarrelsome.
Since everyone can out-punch my cousin, he cannot afford to be pugnacious.
Promulgate. To make known officially, make public, proclaim.
We implored the faculty advisor to promulgate the requirements for the presidency of the club.
Brash. Impudent, insolent.
My mother liked the salesman's brash personality, but he irritated most people.
Scoff. To mock, to sneer at.
I don't understand modern art, but I neither loathe nor scoff at it.
Belittle. To make seem less important.
Although Ralph can't play, he doesn't hesitate to belittle the efforts of our football team.
Feeling no pain. Drunk.
Although the party had just begun, after his first drink he was feeling no pain.
Mullins throws down the gauntlet. The pugnacious K.O. Mullins demanded a rematch. He took a full-page newspaper advertisement to promulgate his challenge. When the champ's manager saw the brash announcement, he accosted Mullins, who was surrounded by a throng of newsmen. The manager openly scoffed at Mullins and belittled his fighting ability. Mullins then lost his temper and fearlessly punched the manager, knocking him off of his crutches.
Week 4, Day 3. Tangible. Having actual form, able to be touched.
Mr. Dixon belittled our request for tangible proof of his loyalty.
Laceration. Jagged wound, rough cut.
The medic reached into his kit to find a bandage for the ugly laceration.
Castigate. To correct by punishing, chastise.
The kindly foreman was too reticent to openly castigate the clumsy new worker.
Sordid. Dirty, base, filthy, ignoble.
Stories of their sordid youth poured forth from the unhappy felons.
Octogenarian. Person in his or her 80s.
When the teenager announced her engagement to the octogenarian, the public suspected it to be a publicity stunt.
Hobson's choice. To have no choice at all.
Despite all the talk about democracy in my family, my father usually gives the rest of us Hobson's choice.
Mullins forced to eat humble pie. The irate 80-year-old manager pressed charges against K.O. Mullins, suing him for assault. As tangible evidence of the attack, he pointed to a deep laceration over his eyebrow that had required 10 stitches. When the case was brought before the court, the judge castigated Mullins for the sordid incident. In addition to a costly financial settlement, Mullins was required to make a public apology to the octogenarian.
Week 4, Day 4. Solace. Comfort, easing of grief.
In trying to offer solace to the deceased's wife, the reporter inadvertently made the situation worse.
Aspirant. Candidate for high position.
The publisher scoffed at the reports that he was an aspirant for the job of Secretary of State.
Dregs. Most worthless part.
At the bottom of the beautiful wine bottle, only the dregs remained.
Frenzy. Wild fit, frantic outburst.
In a frenzy, the teenager overturned every drawer while searching for the car keys.
Scurrilous. Coarse, vulgar, using indecent language.
Vigilant censors protect the public from listening to scurrilous language on television.
To rule the roost. Be the boss, lay down the laws.
Although he is a lowly private in the army, at home he rules the roost.
The decline of Mullins. Mullins sought solace in whiskey. Once a highly respected aspirant for the lightweight crown, he now found himself associating with the dregs of Skid Row. He would work himself into an alcoholic frenzy in which he would trumpet scurrilous attacks on the champ, the old manager, and the judge. One avid fight fan attributed Mullins' absence from the ring to sickness, saying that he was recovering from a bad case of scotch.
Week 5, Day 1. Rampant. Going unchecked, widespread, flourishing.
When the plague was rampant on the island, Dr. Aerosmith's wife died.
Inane. Foolish, silly.
Orville Wright was criticized for his inane desire to fly.
Ethics. Code of principles, moral philosophy.
A special management committee was asked to investigate business ethics.
Concur. Agree.
If I can get my parents to concur, I'll join the Peace Corps.
Clandestine. Secret, undercover.
The spies thought their meeting was a clandestine one, but a throng of FBI agents gathered outside the building.
Stock in trade. The necessary equipment.
A quick wit and a warm smile were the salesman's stock in trade.
Cheating. During my first weeks at the new school I observed that cheating was rampant. I had always considered it rather inane to cheat on a test because of my code of ethics, and because so much was at stake. Apparently the other students didn't concur. In fact, even the presence of a proctor did not intimidate them. Far from being a clandestine activity, the cheating was open and obvious.
Week 5, Day 2. Flagrant. Outrageous, glaringly bad.
Parking in front of a hydrant is a flagrant violation of the city's law.
Admonish. To warn, to reprove, to scold.
I suspect that my father will admonish me for coming home late.
duress, compulsion, force, coercion.
The confession was signed under duress, the attorney claimed.
Culprit. The guilty person, one who commits a crime.
The culprit was caught with his fingers in the cookie jar.
Inexorable. Inflexible, unrelenting.
Television sleuths are inexorable in their pursuit of lawbreakers.
To take down a peg. To humiliate.
The alumni thought they had a great basketball team, but our varsity took them down a peg.
Cracking down. Mr. Dorsey, our new principal, determined to do something about the flagrant cheating at our high school. He issued bulletins and began to admonish those teachers who did not proctor alertly. Under duress, the faculty reported the names of the culprits. Several crib sheets were turned in as tangible evidence of the cheating. Mr. Dorsey's inexorable campaign against the wrongdoers seemed to be paying off.
Week 5, Day 3. Egregious. Remarkably bad.
The bank teller's egregious error was difficult to correct.
Distraught. Mentally confused, crazed, harassed.
The soldiers were distraught to learn that their furloughs had been cancelled.
Duplicity. Cunning, trickery, double-dealing.
Duplicity is the stock in trade of all adroit counterspies.
Acrimonious. Caustic, bitter.
We tried to ignore her acrimonious comments, but that took considerable restraint.
Paucity. Scarcity, shortage.
Although it was a creative writing class, the teacher complained about the paucity of talent there.
To pass the buck. To refuse to take responsibility.
He always gives me a straight answer and never tries to pass the buck.
Star player is caught. The cheating scandal came to a head when Art Krause, our football captain, made the egregious mistake of getting caught cheating on a midterm exam. If Art were suspended for his part in that sordid affair, our chances for winning the city championship would go up in smoke. The distraught coach asked the principal to overlook Art's duplicity. But Mr. Dorsey replied in an acrimonious fashion that the players had been given a plethora of athletic instruction, but a paucity of moral guidance.
Week 5, Day 4. Elicit. To draw forth, extract.
It isn't easy to elicit answers from a sleepy class on Monday morning.
Pernicious. Harmful, causing injury.
The dictator's pernicious rules failed to intimidate the leaders of the underground.
Tolerate. To put up with, to bear, to permit.
Dentists appreciate patients who can tolerate pain.
Construe. To make a deduction, to infer, to interpret.
She hoped that we would not construe her decision to run for office as a thirst for power.
Impunity. Freedom from punishment, exemption.
The border guards allowed the doctor to cross the frontier with impunity.
To leonize a person. To idolize.
When the famous poet Dylan Thomas visited the United States, he was lionized wherever he lectured.
Our Pyrrhic victory. Mr. Dorsey summoned a representative group of teachers and student leaders to his office, in order to elicit their reactions to the suspension of the football captain. He told them that cheating was a pernicious disease that could not be tolerated at our school. He loathed having to discipline Art Krauss so severely, but unless strict measures were taken, the student body would construe the incident as an open invitation to cheat with impunity. "We may lose a football game," the principal said, "but we can salvage our self-respect."
Week 6, Day 1. Affluent. Rich.
Under duress from the tax officer, the beggar admitted that he was truly affluent.
Feasible.
It's feasible to build an electric auto, but wouldn't you need a terribly long extension cord?
Discern. Perceive.
When we could discern the city lights, we knew we were safe at last.
Sally. Suddenly rush forth.
Some prisoners planned a disturbance while others would sally toward the gate.
Consternation. Dismay.
To the consternation of the sergeant, there was a paucity of volunteers for the dangerous mission.
I'm from Missouri. A skeptic, one who is not easily convinced.
You might swallow his promises, but I'm from Missouri.
The newspaper umbrella. Our neighbor is an affluent inventor whose latest brainstorm, a feasible umbrella substitute, has been featured in many magazines. As simply as the eye can discern, it is a hard plastic strip, about the size of a ruler, which fits comfortably into a woman's handbag or a man's suit jacket. If a person is caught in a sudden rainstorm, he swings the plastic open in the shape of a cross. Attached to each arm is a clip-like device. Next, he takes the newspaper he is carrying and slides it under each of the 4 clips. Now, equipped with a rigid head covering, he can sally forth to face the elements. To the consternation of the umbrella manufacturers, it has been enjoying a brisk sale, especially among commuters. If it continues to do well, it could have a pernicious effect upon the umbrella industry.
Week 6, Day 2. Precocious. Reaching maturity early.
The children in Shakespeare's plays are so precocious that they all sound like grandparents.
Perfunctory. Done without care, superficial.
Edith gave only perfunctory attention to the new millennium, skipping our New Year's Eve party.
Chagrin. Feeling of disappointment, humiliation.
To the chagrin of many taxpayers, some citizens seem to cheat the government with impunity.
Perverse. Contrary, persisting in error.
When I correct my kid brother's math errors, he is perverse enough to insist that he is right.
Deride. To ridicule, scoff at.
The Wright brothers didn't become distraught when a skeptic would deride their work.
Red letter day. Day of happiness, time for rejoicing.
My red letter day came when I was chosen as senior class president.
Patent pending. My buddy Vern, a precocious automotive wizard, and I were inspired to do some inventing on our own. We thought it might be feasible to park a car parallel to a space on the street. Then, by pressing a button, we could raise the 4 tires off the ground slightly, while dropping 2 special wheels perpendicular to the curb. It would then be child's play to roll into the narrowest of parking spaces. We took the idea to Ed Green, who runs the Ford agency, in order to elicit his reaction. After a perfunctory glance at our plans, to our chagrin Ed snorted that our idea was inane. But we decided that he was just jealous of our brilliance. Tomorrow, we are going to start on a computer that will enable us to measure the intelligence of perverse automobile dealers who like to deride the efforts of junior geniuses.
Week 6, Day 3. Disparage. To discredit, belittle.
The affluent store owner disparaged the efforts of his small competitor, saying that he could always tolerate that kind of rivalry.
Laudable. Praiseworthy.
The paradox is that Javert's inexorable pursuit of Jean Valjean was both laudable and despicable.
Fiasco. Complete failure.
In an acrimonious letter, her father described the project as a complete fiasco.
Masticate. To chew up.
To aid in digestion, you must masticate each piece of meat 12 times.
Eschew. Avoid.
Once he sought the limelight, but now he eschews all interviews.
To let sleeping dogs lie. To let well enough alone, to avoid stirring up old hostilities.
The lawyer wanted to open up the old case, but his partner advised him to let sleeping dog lie.
Hold that Nobel Prize. Speaking of inventions and discoveries, I just learned that an eminent scientist in Ohio has developed a pill that contains all the nutritive value of 3 complete meals. In addition to providing us with the vitamins and minerals we need daily, this pill also gives a feeling of fullness. According to its sponsors, the pill will nourish and satisfy. I hate to disparage such a laudable achievement, but to me it seems like a most objectionable discovery. Rather than a scientific triumph, I'd be inclined to label it as an egregious blunder, a scientific disaster, a laboratory fiasco. Is there anyone in his right mind who thinks that a pill can replace the pleasures of devouring hot cornbread, masticating on a thick steak, biting into crisp French fries, or attacking a chocolate sundae? I'm afraid that this is one pill I'll have to eschew from chewing.
Week 6, Day 4. Quell. Put an end to.
In order to quell the riot, the police sallied forth with tear gas.
Voluble. Talkative.
I could not doze in the chair because of the voluble barber.
Confidant. One to whom you confide your secrets.
A teenage boy's father should be his true confidant.
Obsolescence. Process of wearing out.
The obsolescence built into many products could be regarded as a flagrant insult toward the duped consumer.
Dubious. Doubtful.
When the duplicity was revealed, the jury became dubious about Ed's innocence.
Thumbs down. Signal of rejection.
My father turned thumbs down on our plan to hitchhike to Florida during Easter.
Perfect products. I guess we'll never be able to quell those persistent rumors about the invention of auto tires that will never wear out, stockings that cannot tear, and pens that won't run dry. A voluble economist informed me that such products will never be marketed. Can you imagine, he asked, a manufacturer cutting his own throat? Why would he sell you an item that you will never have to replace? No, my confidant whispered. It's part of their scheme of planned obsolescence, to sell you merchandise with a limited lifespan, in order to keep you coming back for more. I am dubious about the existence of those perfect products, but then I'm from Missouri.